himself into work to survive.
The department that I was in at the first place, it was called finding.
Okay, so talk me through what your department does.
We look for customers. They used to call them customers. And there is a certain milestone that you have to reach, or a target a day, so that you don't be punished. Our reward was not to be punished.
There's a few differences, but also some similarities between Catalia's compound and Q's. So the similarities are that they both have two departments doing scamming. So people doing cold outreach and people talking on the phone to warm leads. And Q, like Catalia, he was doing cold outreach with daily KPIs. Q had to hit no less than 60 conversations, or he'd be beaten up, tasered, or made to run laps for several hours. And when I say conversations, what I mean is that he had to extract personal information such as a full first and last name, location, age, and occupation of 60 people every day, or he'd get punished. And then that information, it was passed up the chain onto the next department responsible for sort of fostering intimacy with the victim. The owners of Q's company specialized in scamming American men aged over 40 on WhatsApp. So for 20 hours a day, every day, he was trying to initiate conversations. But actually, in most cases, the men, they kind of knew what he was up to.
I would say American people are so wise.
Yeah.
So I would say 90% of the people that used to send texts every day knew about scamming. They used to send very, very bad replies.
Okay. Did you ever get people trying to call you back? Or did anyone ever send you a message that surprised you?
Yeah, some of them were, fall in traps and, try to communicate back. There was a guy who texted me and was like, "You guys, we know where you are and we are coming for you anytime." This got me scared and at the same time happy, and I was like, "Yeah, you guys, you should come here and, rescue us."
They didn't know about this situation.
Except me letting them know at some point, because I used to send some messages, then I delete them so that it wouldn't be checked and know what's happening. But I used to text some random people, after the conversation, I was like, "Man, truth is this is a scam. I'm trapped in Myanmar. Is there any way you can help me?" But eventually, after someone, knowing that this is not a girl I'm talking to, it might be another scam as well. This guy is maybe lying me so they just blocked us always.
Did anyone ever show any sympathy?
Some of them, but there was nothing to do.
Oh God. Okay. And so when you got someone on the hook and they seemed to believe that you were some hot woman who wanted to start a relationship or something, would you hand that conversation up to another department, or what would happen?
That was a verified customer. After getting all his information, age, career, location, so that was like a +1. They used to call it a +1 because we used to send these screenshots. You take screenshots of every chat, then forward them to a group in Telegram for another department to verify if this is good information about this person. Then they continue, scamming him on another level.
Again, I want to highlight how streamlined and formalized this all is. Just like telemarketers in the West, these criminal groups in Myanmar have developed a script for every possible conversation. And I think that helps to explain why so many people are getting scammed every year. In 2023, Americans lost over $10 billion to fraud. and that was a 14% increase on the year before. Here in Australia, the numbers are a little bit lower, of course, but we still lost $476 million the same year. And in 2024, the world collectively lost $1 trillion to scammers, and that was a record. And loads of this money is pouring into Myanmar, where new scammer farms are going up every month. But next episode, we're looking at the situation from the other side of the scam. We're going to meet a guy named Troy from Ohio, who in 2021 struck up a relationship with a woman he thought was living in Seattle. And he then lost every cent to his name, plus about $25,000 that he borrowed from the bank. And we're going to look at how scams like this go down from Q and Catalina's perspective. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe. If you're enjoying this and you want to offer some support, the single easiest thing that you can do is to subscribe. And just a huge thanks to Judah Tanner from Global Advanced Projects, without whom this series would have never happened. Scammerland is produced by Rachel Tuffrey. Editing is by me, Rachel Tuffrey, and by Jamie Snyder. The audio is mixed by Jimmy Saunders, who also did our sound design. Our cover art is by Rich Akers. Our interns are Nina Fussell and Ellie Dickey. And this whole thing has been a Super Real production.
Super Real. To give our kids the best start in life, the Victorian Government is delivering free kinder, creating thousands of new teaching jobs across the state. Study kinder teaching and you could be eligible for up to $34,000 in financial support. So there's never been a better time to study for a career in early childhood education. Learn more at vic.gov.au/kinder. Best start, best life. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
As Aussies, we don't know how rugby, Aussie rules and soccer can all be footy. But most of us do know how to enjoy Vegemite. So let's pass that knowledge on. Come on, Australia. Introduce someone to the taste today. Head to unitewithvegemite.com.au.
Your customers are scrolling past your social ads, using ad blockers and paying for ad-free streaming. But when they're listening to a podcast, they're hearing Acast ads, which are 4.4 times more engaging than display ads. So, if you want real attention, start advertising on podcasts with Acast. Start today at go.acast.com/ads.
Just a trigger warning on this episode. It's got some pretty graphic descriptions of violence, so it's probably not suitable for young ears. Hey, I'm Julian Morgans, and you're listening to Scammerland. This is episode 3, and over the last 2 episodes, we've looked at how most online scams are run by people living in modern slavery through Southeast Asia. We've followed 2 people who have been abducted and sold to run scams, Catalina and Small Q. And at the end of this episode, we're actually going to check back in with Q as he comes up with an escape plan. But first, I want to look at the other side of the equation, the people who are getting scammed. So we're going to start this episode by meeting an American guy named Troy Gokinawa. Back in 2021, Troy got scammed and ended up almost bankrupt and considering suicide. But then he discovered that the people that scammed him were actually victims themselves. And since then, he's been working to expose Asia's scam farm system. Welcome to Scammerland. Hey Troy, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Can we start with an introduction? Just tell me your name and what you do with yourself.
So my name is Troy Gokinawa. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I was living in New York City for 13 years, wanted to be in show business, moved back here in 2020. I now work at a data center.
But before all of this began, Troy, he was actually an aspiring actor.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to be a movie star, but when I went to New York, I was probably 35 years old. But I didn't want to, go to my deathbed one day wishing that I'd done it. And it was quite a time living in New York City.
In New York, Troy was getting roles in stage shows, and maybe you can still hear a bit of the thespian in his voice. But in 2020, COVID struck, and the world ground to a halt. The auditions all dried up, along with his day job, and Troy moved back home to Columbus, which really wasn't easy. Did it feel like it was sort of the end of an era when you arrived back in Columbus?
It did. The biggest thing was that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. If I wasn't pursuing acting, I really didn't know what I would do. So having no money and I was in my 40s at that point. So that was pretty much the lowest point of my life when I was scammed.
Something you might be noticing is how the scams industry targets people who are at a crossroads. Think about Q, who was working in his internet cafe and dreaming of something more, and Catalia, who had just lost her dad, and Troy, who found himself broke and a bit directionless. At every level, this industry, it just feeds on vulnerability.
Yeah, I was starting my life over, so I had to find a job, and eventually I did. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll date. I don't really like online dating, but let me put my name in. Let me do some Facebook dating. It's free and whatever. What could go wrong with Facebook dating? So I signed up, and I got a message from a supposed girl. And I got a message from a supposed girl who lived in Seattle, and we started chatting on a day-to-day basis about, just about things, the weather, did you eat today? What did you eat today? Where do you work? What do you do? Supposedly this woman was successful. She was supposedly part Asian and part Ukrainian.
Did she send you a photo of herself?
Yes, she did. And it was this beautiful woman, so I was full woman, so I was pretty excited to get to talk to a woman like this.
Troy didn't realize, but whoever he was talking with in Myanmar had just got to the part of the script where they had to send a selfie. Because all of these scammers, they're pretending to be women. Most of these scams, they're romance scams, and they're directed at men. So people like Q and Catalia, they've got to send a photo of some random model or a woman from the compound, and they claim it's a selfie. And according to Q, this strategy works nearly all the time.
You send a picture, and men about, beautiful girls, they fall so easily. So they were like, oh, you look beautiful, I don't know you. So that's how the conversation were going on in the first place.
These photos of these girls, where did you get those from?
They gave them to us, and actually these were real people inside there that we were working with, but they were under also, force. They didn't do it with their own will. They were lied to be models in Bangkok, because I was able to access one of these models to communicate with her. She was from Belarus, and she told me her story, which was very sad that actually they were used sometimes sexually.
Oh man, that's horrible. But like I said, Troy, he didn't know any of this. He thought that he'd actually met someone special, who just happened to be really attractive.
The photo was actually an influencer in Hong Kong. Later on, I spoke to that person after I was scammed, and so it clearly was not them. Those photos were stolen.
Right, okay. Tell me about what, at its best moment, when you were getting scammed, but you thought that you were starting a relationship. What did that relationship feel like? Was it pretty exciting?
It felt great. I mean, it's always nice to be loved and admired for who you are. It always feels nice to get that text of, hey, thinking about you, and how are you doing? Did you eat today? It's nice to get that stuff. I think probably every one of us would love to get that. Romance scams are nothing new. This is just a whole different version of a romance scam, and they really have it down to a science.
Were you falling in love?
I think I was falling in love with this person. That's it's kind of interesting how a lot of times we say things online in social media or whatever that we would probably never say would never say face to face.
Are you saying that you told this person stuff that you'd have struggled to articulate in real